Hey guys, it's me, Sharktopus117, known to all of you as Sharky. And if you dare call me something else, you're done. You're done is what you are. And welcome to episode 5, I believe, of the Colossal Kaiju fan podcast. This episode called The Fat and the Furriest. I can't believe we're at episode 5 and I'm already losing count of what episode we're at. It's only 5's a big number. I don't know how the numbers, people. I don't know how the numbers. Anyways, joining me today will not be Bamboo Shoots or Gothic Serpent. Neither of them are going to be on the podcast for the foreseeable future due to reasons. But please help me give a very warm welcome to the new co-host, Spotted Alien.
Hello,
Clapping
it is
sound
I.
effects.
That's not actually my real voice. Hi.
Yeah,
Hi, guys.
that'd be
How's it going?
So Spalien, welcome onto the podcast and stuff. Today we've got to talk about, two kaijus and, kind of just discuss their gameplay and origins and their deep ramifications on human philosophy.
And waffles or something like that. We have.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, waffles. Yeah. They're great with fried chicken.
Definitely.
Man, fried chicken waffle sounds good right now. But anyway, yeah, there's really not much else to say. Let's go. Boom. Kaiju. Stuff.
Your butt is wide. Well, mine is too. Just watch your mouth, or I'll sit on you. The word is out. Better treat me right, 'cause I'm the king of cellulite. Ham on whole wheat. All
right. So after that spectacular intro we just did, we can start talking about these kaiju. So first up, we've got Macrosaurus the Fat, and in the title, of course, you see what I'm doing there? I'm tying it back to the beginning, huh? But Macrosaurus, he's a giant fat T-Rex who's got like stumpy arms, and despite being really fat, he actually has pretty big pecs there. He looks he looks like he does some lifts, which doesn't make any physical sense whatsoever, considering how
got some moves.
Yeah, look at his arms. His arms are like, they're just amazingly tiny.
His arms have actually retained a good proportion to his body.
That is true. They still look funny though. They look stumpy. They look like little baby arms.
It's so tiny.
But okay, so his backstory. So he's like a dinosaur, right? And he's chilling on prehistoric Earth, eating stuff, just a big T-Rex chilling. And suddenly he finds a wormhole, basically, a rip in the fabric of space and time, and stuff comes flying out of it. A lot of stuff. And since he's getting bigger and eliminating his natural food sources, he just kind of starts eating all the stuff that comes out of this wormhole, whatever it may be. It could be rocks. It could be, time machines. It could be unsuspecting humans. It could be unsuspecting aliens. It could be really anything. There's no limit to what could have come out of that wormhole. Doctor Who fanboys, bloody fanfic material for you right there. Because we know you have nothing better to do with your life if you're listening to it.
The Whovians.
Good show. 10 out of 10. We'll watch again. But so one day, eventually, he realizes, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm not gonna sit here and wait for the food to come to me. I'm gonna force my fat butt through this wormhole. I'm gonna squeeze through, and I'm gonna eat everything on the other side. That's what he does, and he just kind of ends up on Earth in now the present, and he's just all like, "All right, suckers, time to eat." And he develops the power to, with his own mouth, rip through the fabric of space and time. So he's basically literally eating reality, basically.
In the words of Fat Bastard, get in my belly.
We have to have Weird Al Yankovic's "I'm Fat" playing at some point in this podcast, right? Mothman, get on that once after this, and I don't know, it's up to you if you want to cut out this bit that I'm saying right here. But design-wise, he's pretty simple. He's just a big, fat, bluish, purple indigo, I guess?
Yeah.
T-Rex with a few white stripes, a little bit of yellow-ish beige.
Design-wise, it's really pretty basic, but still fairly effective. He has contrasting colors of blue, which I can verify is blue. I've actually played around with his color scheme a bit. Blue, ever so slightly violet, in some spots, with contrasting orange and tan/yellow,
Yeah,
very pale yellow,
and
which is very basic color theory of opposing colors on the color wheel, which it works.
it works. He looks it's very easy to make a really lame cliche T-Rex kaiju. Whenever you're working on this, it's really hard to take dinosaurs and make them unique, or at least
Yeah.
theropod dinosaurs. I should clarify. Other species of dinosaurs haven't really been done too much in at least not to a point that people know about them.
Yeah, it's always kind of, those are just the typical kaiju that when you think of they're just actually the typical dinosaur that when you say, oh, I'm gonna draw a dinosaur, oh, they're drawing a T-Rex.
Yeah,
You never think of
to be fair, it's kind of hard to blame people for that because T-Rexes are pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. T-Rex is king of the dinosaurs for a reason. He's no wimp.
Yeah, for reasons that Jurassic Park has set up. When in actuality, we kind of debate back and forth whether he's a
scavenger or predator.
Scavenger or predator, yeah. But yeah, he's got a very killer. He looks really cool, but T-Rex.
I hate to make this a paleontological debate, but I'm fairly certain they've more or less debunked the full-on scavenger theory. They've gotten to the point that it's like, oh yeah, he totally would have scavenged when he could, but he would have hunted more often than that. I think, if I recall correctly. But that said, totally doesn't fit Macro. He does not look like he's hunting anything. He looks like he's just going to eat what's in front of him.
Yeah.
And give him credit. There's like omnivores. Like this is beyond that. This is macrovore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maximovore. I don't know. Come up with something. That's up to you guys to come up with. What is Macrosaurus's diet?
Cosmovore. I don't know.
Oh, I like Cosmovore. That sounds cool. But, but yeah, that said, I like, just taking a T-Rex and making it fat. That's a pretty easy way, actually, to make him look more unique from other T-Rexes. And I appreciate it. It does look better. It's a good way to give him a nice little twist. What a twist to
They should have put more spikes on him.
More
spikes everywhere.
Spikes equals quality in kaiju design. Rule number 1: get it right. But now that we can talk about his design, we can move on to his gameplay. So his energy system is fueled by hunger, which basically means that whenever he eats an object from the environment, it increases his energy meter. And he also eats power-ups to get enhanced effects. What I'm assuming is that, a normal power-up is dropped, like, say, a health power-up. Not only will he regenerate energy from that, but he'll regenerate health. So I'm basically thinking that just means it's going to do the exact same thing it would do prior, but it would also regenerate your energy on top of that. That's the way I'm interpreting that.
He's going to be more focused on regaining energy in a more forced pattern rather than having it just gradually do it naturally. Yeah.
Which is good. Godzilla Saved the Earth and other Godzilla games kind of lacked in varying energy styles, so I'm glad to see this is something CKC is introducing. I think that'll add a lot of depth to the gameplay, especially with a character that looks really simple like Macro, but in reality has a lot of things that could, be done with him.
Yeah, especially since if you're always regaining energy, you kind of don't have to worry about that, but when you have to force your character to regain energy, it adds a bit of I'm gonna say this.
Strategery.
You gotta put in some strategery to help win the game.
And life finds a way. Now we can move on to his combat. Range combat. He's got this big belch because he's a fat bastard. And fat bastards burp and they're disgusting like that. I would know. I know a few. So whenever he does that, he releases like a poison cloud of gas, I guess, which is very basic, like humor. But I mean, it works.
And it breaks away from, oh, he's a giant monster. He's gonna have this giant laser weapon of mass destruction.
Almost firing my laser.
But this actually adds in yet another strategic element of something that's not going to, go zooming out and hitting your opponent from far away, but it can
definitely have a very destabilizing effect at close range.
Yeah, it can potentially paralyze. It can stun.
It's done.
I imagine.
Hang
Can
on,
it?
hang on. I'm looking at it. Any other monsters who enter it will be significantly hampered. It uses it to limit the mobility of his opponent. So I guess it does. It takes away some of their speed. It slows them down.
Yeah.
So I guess in that respect, it works kind of like frost damage, but without dealing frost damage. Which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. It's a good way of getting around, of slowing down a monster that might be resistant to that kind of energy type. That's a
Yes.
neat strategic way to do that. His other thing, ranged combat ability, is tearing a hole in the fabric of time and space with his face and his jaws, which I can't stress enough. This is a dinosaur that eats reality, all right? What's not cool about that? And
Not a whole lot.
like really, it's just so cool. I can't get enough of that. Just saying that he's a T-Rex who eats the universe. It's just awesome automatically.
He is
But
literally the apex predator.
oh, yeah, exactly. But yeah, when he rips these holes in reality, random objects spawn into arena, and they can be used to, like smack opponents around with, or throw them at opponents, or just eat them and regenerate energy.
Yeah.
Which actually raises a question now that I think about it. Does it take energy to form this hole to regain energy?
That is an interesting question. Yeah, that
That
if it
seems like that could be like an infinite loop kind of problem we've got going on
yeah.
there.
I imagine if it does require energy to rip open that hole, it would be a small amount of energy, and whatever would come through would, or maybe it's like a gambling effect
Yeah, maybe
where,
different objects give you different amounts of energy when you eat them.
yeah, hmm,
I'm
yeah,
sorry we don't know, audience, alright? You know as much as we know. We're just looking at the wiki, okay? Don't blame us. We ain't game devs.
somebody's gonna come back from this on, and after CKC has been released, they're gonna come back and they're gonna say, "Ugh, you guys are such morons."
Oh, yeah.
It's very clear that whenever Macrosaurus has to use his attack, he uses 0.055% of his energy, and there is a 0.25 chance of a bus coming through, and that will regain 0.15 of his energy. And you guys are stupid for not knowing that.
Yeah, that's totally gonna happen. Those exact words, by the way. Spalien is actually from the future. I don't know if he told you that.
Yeah,
But,
I'm actually an interdimensional traveler, so yeah,
yeah, you've just got nothing better to do than be on this podcast. You'd think
yeah.
interdimensional traveling would be more fun, but apparently
Well,
not.
to be fair, I'm just the archiver, so it's boring and
Yeah.
lonely.
Tight. So, that said, I was totally gonna say one more thing about this whole tearing. Oh yeah, another thing that might, circumvent that whole infinite loop of energy is maybe he can pick up environment like objects in the environment already there and just eat those and get energy.
Yeah,
But then that defeats the purpose of opening the hole in the first place unless you're going to use it offensively.
well, unless of course, because we are planning on having destruction in the game, if there's nothing left on the field, he may have to. That may want to be one of his more prominent sources of regaining energy.
That is true. Although, and then also there's also plenty of maps that don't have really, buildings or any big things that you can destroy. There's plenty of just kind of like boxing cage maps that are going to be in there. And by
Yeah,
plenty, I
because
mean one, because we don't really know much about the maps. We know like two or three.
yeah,
And we're
I'm,
just going to work with the city stereotype. I would like to bring up that in Save the Earth, and actually really every Godzilla game, destroying the city with a fight, like just fighting through a city and destroying that, takes time. All right.
yeah, it does. It really does. I remember playing in Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, and you could go several matches and still not destroy the entirety of the city.
So I don't know how much that scenario would come into play. Probably I could definitely see it being helpful in the whole like boxing cage arena type thing. But in an actual city, I don't think you'd have to worry about that so much. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. One more question. How does he actually grab things? Like,
Yeah, that was something I was just now thinking of too. I imagine he would do it with his mouth because his
yeah,
arms are too small to actually hoist anyone.
yeah.
Those are not arms you would use to pick something up
He's
unless
not
it's
winning any arm wrestling contests. I'll take
I imagine he only uses that to pick up a fork and a spork, but yeah.
if that a spork, the greatest of utensils, is your god now. Bring it, your virgins. It does say here in grappling that he grabs objects and other monsters with his giant mouth, but it seems kind of weird to me because look at how fat, like how not so much how fat, but look how rotund he is. Like just imagine that bending over. It doesn't look natural to me. I can't fix
Yeah,
that.
I imagine that
Like to
the
pick a rock
stat
off the
charts
ground.
that were going around, he has a whole lot of weight. I mean, he's the max weight, but I imagine he doesn't have a lot of strength. So
Yeah.
it's going to be more him picking up objects.
Now,
And
here's an
either just
idea for the animation for him picking it up. What if instead of bending over and grabbing it with his mouth, he like kicks it up with his foot and catches
or
it with
he
his mouth?
or he just stomps on the ground and his weight just sends it jumping into the
Oh,
air.
that's even better. That makes more sense. Yeah. Sunstone, I hope you're taking notes. We're giving you guys ideas here. Just giving you logic-based assumptions. But yeah, now we go on to his melee combat, which is, he's really big and fat, and he's a charging type character. So once again, I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna keep on saying it until this addition is made to the damn wiki pages. We need a movement section, people. We need it for these like charging type characters, and so we can understand like flight and stuff, because that's important, and we don't have it in this section. It's not a section here, and it bothers me. And I'm gonna keep on saying it until the day it's introduced. And then that day is going to be like the podcast is going to come out like a week later, but we recorded a week prior before that happened. So I'm going to sound like an idiot when that happens. But I don't care. I'm going to keep on saying it. So deal with it. Now.
I imagine we could implement it as an importance, like a Kaiju Land Battles comes out, we implement it into each of those posts as Fall of Nemesis releases, we release it into each of those posts. As we get through, a couple more progenitors, we release it into each progenitor.
Yeah, I see.
But yeah,
okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Still, get it done, Sunstone. Get it done. But melee combat, he's a T-Rex, and he's actually supposed to be pretty fast, surprisingly so, despite his, gargantuan fatness.
Yeah, I imagine his speed more translates to his charging rather than his usual movement.
Yeah, like I imagine him like walking would be like slow and lumbering, but he's like a train. He's like slow to start, but once he starts going, it's hard to stop him.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually going to be really fun. Like I just love the idea of him barreling through skyscrapers and buildings until he finally just body slams into somebody and uses his own weight as a weapon. That's just cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, the bull in a china shop effect, though Mythbusters did disprove that. But still.
Yeah, that is true. Bulls are very dainty creatures, people.
But not Macrosaurus, not Macrosaurus.
Oh, I'm now imagining Afrosaurus in like a Macrosaurus in like a tutu with like a little bow. Now Afrosaurus. Jeez.
Now I'm imagining him with like an afro, like the Madagascar clown.
Oh my god. This is like we're making this art, dude. We need like dainty Macrosaurus and Afrosaurus. Get on the artists.
All right. Well, I mean,
I think we've just got a few more things to go through before we're done. He doesn't punch. He doesn't use his arms in any of his combat. His basic punches are actually belly bumps.
Yeah,
which is really funny, actually. That's just great. He uses his teeth like a lot. I guess maybe his feet. They look pretty damaging.
I imagine he does stomps on more often than kicks.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, also in Save the Earth, and I imagine in Destroy Monsters, Destroya could kick, and he has thunder thighs, or she, or it, or whatever you call Destroya.
Well, the thing about Destroya is that he's not so much fat. His legs are just thick and strong, built up to hold his weight.
That is true.
Whereas, Macrosaurus, his legs are kind of stubby. But
I'll give you that. I could see that maybe being like kind of short kicks that don't necessarily go up at a 90-degree angle. They can't quite reach that high. But, they're maybe like quick little interrupting kicks, like like in the shin and stuff.
Meh.
That sound at me was amazing. He can't jump normally, but he can expend the energy to jump, and he can actually do one of his most devastating attacks, which is called the Doom Flop.
Yeah, that's actually I think that's really both humorous and, again, inventive. He requires energy to do his more powerful attack.
Yeah, not just his more powerful attack, but just to jump requires energy, which is
But on the
really
downside, he can't jump normally.
yeah, he can't jump like normally with any other monster. Just push the button and boom, they jump. But with Macro, you like push the button, he goes like, and he doesn't do anything. Like
Yeah,
at least I imagine it.
I'm curious if they're going to implement something different for the jump button than a jump or just a useless jump animation. But that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Real quick weaknesses before we wrap this up. He needs objects to regain energy. So if he has a long fight, obviously, he doesn't have fuel to fight. And it says here in weaknesses that the process to spawn objects to eat does take time and leaves him vulnerable. So that's probably the downside. Maybe it doesn't expend energy, but that's what it does instead.
Yeah, and once more, he can't jump. So if there is a ground-based attack that you could normally avoid by, jumping, ducking, or rolling, he can't do that. He's going to have to sit and take it.
Rolling confirmed for CKC. But yeah, I think that's about it for Macro. We talked a lot about him, a lot more than I thought we were.
All right, we just discussed Macrosaurus, the fat to the fat and the furry, and now it's time that we start discussing the furry. And you know who that is. That's Duncan.
Best name ever.
Definitely. Duncan comes in at 92 meters, and he's a fairly light kaiju. And as we can see in his overview, Duncan is a big green kangaroo. I am quoting that word for word. That is the entire overview. Duncan is a big green kangaroo.
For reference, people, most other kaiju have a good paragraph kind of explaining what they are with, what they are and their backstory in a very, one sentence thing. And underneath they have the legit backstory that takes, a bit longer to explain. Duncan, all it says is Duncan is a big green kangaroo.
Yeah, and as we know, like all male kangaroos, Duncan doesn't have a pouch, and as all kaiju, Duncan has no visible genitalia.
Why would he?
Yeah, but he's a big green kangaroo, so there's not much else to discuss.
No one really knows where he came from, and
that was a bit of controversy.
I don't even think we'll ever know. Honestly, Duncan is he's like an Old West hero. All right, he shows up in the middle of nowhere in a small town. He beats up the baddies, and then he leaves. And then there's a little kid shouting, "Come back, Duncan! Come back!" And he's just like, "No, I ride into the night," and he leaves into the sunset because he's an idiot like that.
Ride into the I can't see my eyes. I'm blind.
Why didn't they invent sunglasses yet? I'm like a century behind. But
what are sunglasses?
After that, what we do know about Duncan is that he's a comedian, and a pretty poor one at that. Honestly, he relies on slapstick. A lot of slapstick. What's his face? Something like a comedian. I totally forgot his name. Really cool from the 30s. Did that really amazing speech in that film, The Dictator. Forgot his name. What's he called? Oh, Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin. There we go.
Charlie Chaplin. Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. Some Mothman. Now you can start. Charlie Chaplin, eat your heart out with Duncan, because this is Charlie Chaplin incarnate as a kaiju. He even has little whiskers on his face that, if you don't think about it, look like Chaplin's mustache.
Yeah.
If you really squint your eyes and tilt your head sideways. Right now, he's not really, threat to humans, but he is considered a priority 1 global threat to decency and good taste.
And he's just considered a mischief maker.
Yeah.
So he's like the regular imp you find in a lot of fantasy RPGs or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Just a kangaroo now.
Yeah.
So
a giant kangaroo.
We made the comparison that in Tekken there is a kangaroo character named Rocky or something like that. I don't know. I don't play Tekken. I don't really care.
Roger
But
Jr., I believe it is.
I don't know. There's something. That's a thing. We can confirm that kangaroos in fighting games are a thing. And that's about all we have to say on that. So if you guys are hoping for more reference to that, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get that. So yeah, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
So after coming from the amazing energy system of Macro that we were getting very in depth with, Duncan just kind of regains it over time.
Yeah, the standard stamina.
Nothing special. To be fair, we do need that in the game. We need a few basic characters to weigh out the very complex ones. Not saying Macro is very complex, but nevertheless, we need a character that's very easy to learn. I think Duncan does that pretty well, with the exception of his ranged combat. He's a very good starter.
Yeah, just the typical regain energy slowly over time. So he's always going to have full energy, probably full energy bar, except for well, we can't really apply that to his ranged combat because, as we were just starting, Duncan has no ranged combat.
No, not really.
He doesn't have any weapons that he can
has
use.
No lasers.
No, yeah, he doesn't have any lasers. But he does have the ability, I believe.
Yeah, he can look around on the ground and rearrange the material of the universe, and then just pull out something random. And use that.
Just in that typical cartoon fashion of, well, I don't have anything up my sleeve except this giant hammer.
Yeah. So he can find 3 items. He can find a cartoon bomb, which he can throw and it will explode. He can find boxing gloves that he can put on, and I think they boost his melee offensive capabilities. He can also throw them, but I mean that's pretty stupid, honestly. I don't know why.
I don't think you would probably use them for that effect. And lastly, in terms
a boomerang.
Yeah.
Which I mean, time for this to whip out the stereotype of Death Might. That boomerang, don't know how that's gonna work at all. I really hope they put in boomerang AI so that it goes back and forth. That would be cool.
Yeah,
if completely without purpose. And what if, okay, just spitballing here, but what if every time you threw the boomerang, it would hit the monster, come back, hit them again, and go back into your hand, and you could just keep doing that until once you got hit once, you would drop the boomerang and it was gone.
Or alternatively, if he misses a monster, there's the possibility to have the boomerang come back, because I imagine the boomerang would be able to. Duncan would be a point that the boomerang has to pay attention to. So when he throws it, it goes out, but the monster can dodge it. But Duncan can position himself because he is a very mobile kaiju. So he can reposition himself so that the boomerang will come back and hit the enemy.
That is actually very good. I like that. That sounds strategical. I like it. Strategery. All part of the game, folks. Strategery. So besides that, no ranged combat whatsoever. So
yeah, he can. The section also mentions he has a very good jump, but aside from that, he's not the kaiju you're going to fall back on when you want to pummel your opponent from afar.
Yeah, not at all. The jump, all that's going to do is get you closer. And once again, movement, people. We need movement. But I digress.
Yeah.
For grappling, he's a good grappler. He's sure-footed. He's got big feet because he's a kangaroo, and he can use those grapples to kick them a bunch or just a way to do cool stuff. And
I imagine he could possibly get someone airborne with his legs.
Yeah, that's just the coolest thing ever. I love his art, by the way, that Matt Frank made, because the kangaroo kick is just one of the most mechanically cool things to see in the animal kingdom, to me. It just looks awesome.
Not to mention it won't feel awesome from your perspective, but I imagine it would feel awesome playing as Duncan. Duncan.
I mean, he is Leonardus and Charlie Chaplin. I said Leonardus, but I meant Leonidas. I'm an idiot. Yes. Leonidas and Charlie Chaplin and a kangaroo.
Yeah.
And then the Hulk, because green.
Yeah.
Or no, better than the Hulk, Jolly Green Giant. So, I mean, just
there aren't a lot of green superheroes.
There are a lot, aren't there? I mean, that has literally Martian Manhunter.
True, Martian Manhunter, but he's too serious.
Yeah, he's
I imagine they don't have a lot in common.
no, not probably not.
Yeah.
But this has nothing to do with Duncan, practically, aside from
Yeah.
the fact that we're kind of trying to tie in. Moving on to melee combat, pretty, very basic melee combat, but fast, lots of.
Yeah, this is gonna be the meat
Not
of
gonna lie, Duncan's kind of boring for us to talk about because he's so basic. I mean, he's not that he's bad, but like, there's not too much for us to speculate on and say, oh, well, what of this, what of that, like with
yeah,
other characters, you know?
yeah, but he's gonna be fun for a lot of
Oh, he will definitely be fun. I look forward to
yeah,
it.
especially for newcomers. They're gonna find that I imagine they'll find Duncan to be pretty good, pretty easy to get used to.
I hope when he is in his idle like standing animation, rather than having him looking around and just kind of standing there like an idiot, I would like it if he was like has his fists up and is kind of like bouncing back like on his
Yeah,
feet.
doing the boxing, doing the
Yeah, that
bonks,
and he's just all like, "Oh yeah, up and down. We're going to fisticuffs, see?" Like that.
bobbing up and down. Yeah, that'd be
Duncan is so cute.
almost kind of brings me images of Sly Cooper stuff. So
I mean,
that'd
I
be cool.
can't contribute because I've never played Sly Cooper, even though I hear it's an amazing game. But I'll just agree with you blindly.
Yeah.
Yes, what he said. Um, so yeah, he has a lot of variety in his melee attacks, but I mean, that's all animation wise. We can't really talk about that until the game comes out, can we?
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of cool. Now, I guess we have to move on to his weaknesses. Oh, well, real quick, back to what we do know about his movement is he is able to flank and just kind of jump around his opponents pretty easily.
Yeah,
He's
so
kangaroo.
he's gonna be able to get good good coverage, especially on the slower kaiju. He's gonna be able to probably I imagine he'll be able to get over and behind them really easily and get in some free shots, unless they're like Anguirus, where they
Oh
have
yeah.
yeah. So if he might be able to get in some free shots from the side, and especially for a lot of the less protected tankers from the back. But if they're like Anguirus, Duncan's going to have a difficult time with them, I imagine.
Oh, definitely, because Anguirus has a lot of nasty tricks up his sleeve if you end up behind him, which is what makes him so much fun to play.
Yeah,
He's a great
yeah,
character.
I love Anguirus because you know he doesn't have any special powers, but he's got some things that you have to look out for, uh,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to get past his defenses.
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, that's cool. I think that would definitely be a good counter to Duncan, an Anguirus-esque character. Also, ranged combat might be pretty good if you got a character like, who has a lot of knockback on their ranged weapons. That would probably mess with Duncan a lot too, because they might be able to push him back before he can get to them.
Yeah, especially if they're ranged and also fast.
Oh, definitely. Which we will discuss later. Such characters. Now, as to his weaknesses, since he's got no ranged attacks or beam weapons, he's kind of vulnerable to that. His fur makes him vulnerable to fire-based attacks, so he has, elemental weaknesses.
Yeah,
He relies a lot on, theatricality and deception, to quote the Dark Knight, for his personal defense, which could work against somebody who doesn't know how Duncan plays. But if you're playing against an experienced player, and this is something that we're only going to be able to say once the game is out for a while, then he's going to be pretty easy to beat once they figure out how to beat him.
yeah, and so an experienced player will probably have to take Duncan, and if they're up against another experienced player, they're going to have to jump around and find some power ups to help
Oh yeah.
buff their defenses.
Not to mention his scrounge move is completely randomized, so it's unpredictable what you're going to get. You may want to throw a bomb and end up with boxing gloves, or you may want to get some melee and get a bomb. You never know.
So you're going to have to be very flexible with Duncan. You're going to have to be a player who fights on his feet, and Duncan's got feet to work with. So
Yeah. I think that's about all we've got to say about Duncan, really. There's not too much. I like him okay. I mean, he's not an amazing character. He's very
yeah,
simple.
when I first saw him, I was kind of turned off from him just being a simple kangaroo, but he's really grown on me, and I really like the fast fighter types. So I am anxious to play around with him and see what he can do.
So, yeah, I guess that's about it for Duncan. Pretty decent kaiju, and that's it. All right, so we've talked about these kaiju for long enough, Spalian. I believe at
Yeah,
this point it's time to open up the Colossal Kaiju fan mail. S-
indeed.
So now we've got a few questions from you wonderful people at the forums, our primary audience, really. And we're here going to answer them for you because we're cool like that. So, first question from Bamboo. Welcome back to not existing. I don't know how that works. How do you feel CKC is going? Uh, I'm gonna say I'm happy with the development pace right now. I know a lot of people have kind of freaked out due to, kind of a lack of updates and a few other issues, but honestly, I do feel like these kinds of things are bound to happen. It's just game development. There's always that boring middle white noise segment between
Yeah, I mean,
concepts and release. In between, not that interesting a lot of the time.
yeah, I imagine that we're Simon has to wait to give us some really good meat, and we're on a forum where we're constantly on the forums day in and day out for almost every day of the year, week, whatever.
A long
So
time, long time.
so it's we don't go many days without thinking about the game. And when we don't hear something about the game, we tend to freak out, which
Just
is
be a
kind of
little.
understandable when you're, yeah, that consolidated.
So, to all the people who freak out a bit, I'm just gonna say, be a little patient and just wait. And by a little
Yeah,
patient, I mean be ready to wait like months and stuff. All right. A little
yeah,
patient doesn't mean it's gonna come out next week. It means it's gonna come out in like 2 months.
yeah.
So
It's going to take some time to get to where we can show off more than just the alpha, but
yeah.
it's all
Besides,
going to be K.
yeah, it's all gonna be good. All gonna be good. So next question from Giga Kaiju. Of the Fall of Nemesis and Kaiju Land battles, which kaiju is your favorite in each game and overall? So by overall, I'm gonna assume you mean both of them. Which of those two do you like more? So basically, if your two favorites, which is your favorite? I'll answer first because I've already answered this question before, and therefore your answer, Spalian, can be more cool. But I've already
Right.
said before, my favorite character in Fall of Nemesis is Nemesis herself. I just think she's awesome in basically every way possible. She's not only my favorite character in Fall of Nemesis, she's also my favorite American kaiju at the moment, just hands down. But I guess that kind of answers the question of overall as well. So Kaiju Land Battles said in that video, so I mean, watch that. Did say that Giga Shark was my favorite of them because Shark, and that's about it. You, Spalling?
My favorite in Fall of Nemesis is Mora Titan. I just really like his aesthetic of being a moray eel, a mobile moray eel who's not just serpentine, but he can be serpentine in terms of his aesthetic. I think he's a really cool kaiju. Obviously, I love the water idea and him being a bit different in terms of aesthetic, which I've said like what 3 times in the past now. But I find his playstyle of having to form a coral body around him and that coral body being able to break, I think that's really cool. I think that being that slow brawler type character is also really cool, and it's definitely one of my favorite playstyles. And yeah, I just really like him in Fall of Nemesis, tied with Tornak and Dragon Lotus. And Terzakra. But I have a lot of favorites.
Who
It's
can
hard to
blame you?
choose.
They're all great.
Yeah. As for Kaijin Land battles, that's actually a bit tougher for me because none of them really, I don't know, none of them really stand out for me. It's just a personal thing. It's not because they're 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 awful. No, none of them really jump out at me or
They don't
speak
do
to
it
me.
for you.
No, I think of them, Magna Rock is probably my favorite though. I like his lava and being a stone golem. Uh, I think I think definitely the 3D model that I've seen in motion really helps me like him
Yeah,
a lot
I
more.
think we can all agree that 3D model looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, gorgeous. But yeah, I really like his lava aesthetic and him being of a kind of uh, words
Yeah. All
of
right.
a yeah island aesthetic, basically like a 2D
Polynesian.
almost. Possibly, yeah.
All right. So, last question from well-known member Eon Zeno. I literally just read what was under your name, Eon. So, yeah, take it. What alternate colors would you want for the kaiju and why? Uh, I guess to save time, let's just talk about Macro and Duncan. What
Yeah.
kaiju we would want, what colors we want for them, because relevance. So for Macro, I want a Jeff Goldblum skin. All right, make it happen and replace all of his sound effects with Jeff Goldblum quotes. Make it happen, people. Oh, as well as Dainty Macro and Afrosaurs.
Yes,
Those two.
definitely.
And then for Duncan, Rainbow, because Rainbow.
Yes. I remember talking about on the forums a lot of them just changing Duncan's colors to a regular old red kangaroo for his alternate, possibly. So that might be a bit fourth wall breaking, but I think that could potentially be funny. As for Macrosaurus, possibly inverting his color scheme. Maybe a little. I don't know.
I
Kind
can
of
see
boring.
that. That could be interesting, if at least.
Oh, no. Wait, give him the McDonald's color scheme.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's great because he's a Big Mac. All right.
That's
Well,
brilliant.
I think we have to end on that. I can't. I have nothing in me comedically that can beat that. So, this is the Colossal Kaiju Fan Podcast. My name is Sharky. His name is Spalian, and I'm Sharky, and we are signing off.